Elon is making a lot of headlines these days. He's attracting a fair bit of hate, and therefore so is Tesla, because as we know, Elon is the only person at the company and he builds all the cars himself. No, he doesn't. But he takes all the credit. No, he doesn't. Every shareholder meeting, every product unveiling, he thanks the engineers, he thanks the production workers for all their hard work. But as we know, two wrongs definitely make a right. I disagree with that as well. Three lefts might, but that's a different matter. I brought on my good buddy Herbert to discuss all things moral and to determine once and for all if crime is the solution. I would argue that it's not, but maybe Herbert's going to blow our minds. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. Oh my gosh, what is going on? The world is crazy. It is all sorts of things. I see these protests. I don't mind protests. I get it. You've got a voice. Share it. Fine. What I do have a problem with is crime. Fire. Arson. First of all, arson, good or bad?
You want me to answer that? It's bad, right?
Oh, it's bad. Okay. So yeah, fire at Tesla charging station in Littleton, Mass being investigated as suspicious. And yeah, this is not the way a charging station would burn if it was an electrical fire. This is arson. Please don't commit arson. And we've seen arson in other forms as well. There's a dozen Teslas torched at French dealer, causing over $730,000 in damage, completely burning out the vehicles. And this is crazy. Authorities say that they believe this arson was in part because of the fire pattern itself. It appears as though there were at a minimum 3 separate fire origins, and that none of the fire damaged the building itself. Of the 12 vehicles, 8 were completely destroyed. 4 sustained partial damage. And I would argue that they're probably, partial damage is probably a total loss anyhow, because fire is difficult to repair from. What is going on? This is crazy. I should point out, we've seen this before. Arson can lead to deaths. And if you think you're going to just torch a car and walk away, maybe you'll get away with it. If anyone is injured, especially a firefighter, it becomes a very serious crime, which they will investigate very thoroughly until they find you. Quick thoughts on fire.
Well, I mean, this has gone out of the hand, of course, and it's this. I think you and I have discussed this several times now, that we are what I think to be peak Elon hate, which is now filled so far. Yeah, that's when I say that, people always say, "Oh, it's going to keep going." Yeah, no, I mean, it's at this point, it's the highest it's ever been. Doesn't mean that it's going to not go up any higher. And it's you're seeing it now. We're seeing torching. We're seeing rocks thrown. We're seeing people driving their Teslas, and specifically the Cybertruck, being attacked. This has gone out of hand, and the question is, what's driving this? Why is this so much? Is it because of Elon's involvement with Doge that is just gotten, your political positioning is attacking what they think is his company? And like you say, does it damage Elon? Doesn't really damage Elon, right? It's Elon owns 17% of the company. This is not gonna impact that much at all. In fact, what you're hurting is all the employees, as you mentioned, 130,000 employees, and many people who drive Teslas, by the way, are Democrats. Most of them who bought Teslas just a few years ago are majority Democrats. So it's kind of odd that you're attacking people who may actually have the same political opinion as you. So as a statement, though, it's working. This is making news. As you saw, you're pointing out news articles. People are afraid. I know a lot of Tesla owners who are now very concerned about this. So in that sense, unfortunately, that is working.
It is. This is more fire, this one in Loveland. And then but it doesn't end there. We've got more in Salem. Fire is very dangerous. Please don't play with it. It is what allowed us to have a civilization, I suppose, in many ways. And then, of course, suspect walks. Then Tesla's set on fire again in Sweden. Stop burning stuff. I will say that I am not in a cult. I do not engage in cult behavior. I get people. I made a couple of videos about addressing the brand damage head on. And I did have people say, look, you shouldn't cover politics. And I say, I don't cover politics, but when it spills over into the production and delivery report, you are now in my domain. This is where I operate. And then I had people on those videos thinking, oh, this guy hates Tesla like me. They're garbage. They're no good. No, my friend, we don't do that here either. We're here to talk facts. And the facts are there are people who are upset with the brand, and they make good cars. The engineers are very, very good. That is not something that's really up for debate. And then, yeah, we're seeing graffiti as well. Let's share that. Some minimal graffiti. This is less harmful. We're living in a world where cameras are everywhere. And the fact that these people are not being hunted to the ends of the earth shows a great deal of restraint on Tesla's part. It would not be a cost prohibitive measure to hire a small swarm of private detectives in every city where this happens to make an example of these people. But so far,
what I find interesting is that, the hatred is against Elon. And the reason is political because of his involvement with Doge. That's the primary vector that started this whole thing. And yet they're attacking Tesla. And Tesla as a company, it's not doing anything negative. You know what I mean? Just a show ago, you mentioned how Nestle was attacked because they were killing babies. This is a company that has done something that is, not very morally right? Letting products go out there that will end up killing, in this case, babies, which is the worst you could possibly do. In this case, Tesla's actually doing good for the world, doing good for the environment, and yet it's being attacked. When what they need to do is attack Elon, and they somehow still believe that Tesla is Elon and Elon is Tesla. And I'm not saying that doesn't make sense, because of course it does, but it's not even the company that's making these issues. It's specifically Elon and nothing to do with Tesla. It's the government. So
obviously I'm with you. I think it's that Tesla is the easiest target. Of all the things that you can associate with Elon, this is the one that's the most visible. The only way you can target X is by not using it, and a lot of people have chosen to not use it. Good for you. Enjoy your post on LinkedIn. I'm sure 8 people will see it, and only 6 of them will be bots, so that's great. But there's they can't really, definitely don't attack SpaceX, because then you're getting into a whole different category of crimes that will be where it doesn't matter if Elon wants to show you grace or not. The Department of Defense and other federal agencies would step in. Definitely don't do that. So I'm not sure. I don't know how to tell them to channel their rage. Continue your boycott, I suppose. But I see a lot of people in the comments saying, well, I was never going to buy one anyway. But now it's like, well, if you were never going to buy one anyway, you don't really get a seat at this table. You don't get to suggest that he modify his behavior, because no amount of modifying his behavior will make you like him if your belief is that we should extinguish the lives of billionaires. That's not a good mindset to have. That's kind of a work on yourself moment there.
Yeah, where I'm sitting with this is that, there's no doubt in my mind that this brand damage is happening. It is impacting volume sales of vehicles. It's happening. It's impacting the stock. At this point, I'm still personally believing that the reduction in volume sales of cars is going to be minimal when you've got robotaxi and bots coming out, if not the end of this year, next year. So yes, it's going to impact the business, but it's not. I've already moved on in my head that this is not a car company, and it's just a small kind of thing. Now, but the big concern as a Tesla investor, though, is Elon and whether or not what would happen if he dies. Right, something happens to him. He has talked several times, and he brought it up in just a Joe Rogan interview just this week actually, where he said that there's 2 people that was trying to kill him. They had to actually intervene and stop them. In this case, they were actually mentally unstable people that had nothing to do with him or Tesla or Doge or anything like that. This was just mentally unstable people who, he said something like, the more you hear somebody's name, that's who they'll go. That's the person I'm going to go kill. But having said that, he is at risk. He needs to increase his security. there's no doubt that his risk has gone up higher in the last month than it was. Let's say it's already the peak, has always been at the highest. So that is the concern, right? What would happen if Elon, he's the number one risk, key man risk is the number one concern for Tesla as a company and the stock. So personally, again, this is just my opinion. I could be very wrong. I think the stock will be hit big time. It'll be 50%, even maybe 70% down, but I think it'll recover. And I do think that, yes, Tesla is Elon and Elon is Tesla, but I think that we're at the point today that it won't stop the launch of autonomy and robotaxi, and it won't stop the launch of robots.
I agree with all that.
Yeah.
There are, the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan was motivated by the fact that this poor individual believed it was the only way Jodie Foster would know he exists,
Right.
so that he could date her. That's crazy. Equally crazy, Simon from Tesla Light Shows had his car keyed last week just because it's a Tesla. Or maybe, but that could also be chalked up to maybe he parked funny, maybe I don't know, there are other reasons that can go into something like that. On Rogan, he said that there's a lot of online hate, and it kind of gets to me. I mean, there are ways to mitigate that. You could, I don't know, moderate your behavior a bit. And I'm not saying change your positions, I'm not saying change your actions necessarily, but stop attacking people. Stop attacking powerless people. Don't punch down. Punching down is gruesome. It's grim. It's ghoulish. It's unnecessary. And I know there are a lot of people who cheer it on and think it's fun to watch. It'd be like peak Mike Tyson fighting a dozen school children. It'd be hilarious, but also pretty gross. I wouldn't want to see that. That's more of an 80s type spectacle, perhaps, but there's ways to moderate it. We saw in the leaked DMs that he wanted to see his new child, but he couldn't because of security concerns, because he was afraid that would draw attention to the child, which is a softer target than Elon, that doesn't have the kind of security detail that he has. And it's very hard to have that. Actions have consequences. He's got so much money, more than he could ever spend, more than it will take him to get to Mars, to get humanity to Mars. At some point, maybe he should start, the charitable giving that we saw with like the likes of Rockefeller and Carnegie, where they were building libraries and doing.
I don't think that's going to make a difference. I don't think that that's what's missing.
It's something billionaires do to purchase back their souls, and it definitely softened the world's view on Bill Gates until they found out what he was doing. In addition to that, that made him a different kind of not good guy. So, what are you going to do? So just to summarize, because we've covered so many topics, I just wanted to make sure I understand. That was a don't commit crime message is what we got from this. Don't get yourself in prison over something this stupid. And you can say, my beliefs are not stupid. No, they're not. Your expression of them is, if what you're doing is crime, is property crime, is crime that could result in injury or death to first responders, definitely don't do that. Two wrongs do not make a right. Especially, look what you made me do. No, that's the wrong approach. Take the high road. Don't end up in prison over someone else's behavior. And if you do, you got no one to blame but yourself. When it comes to understanding things, when it comes to being brighter, I blame you, Herbert, because you do that. You make me brighter. Guys, head over to Herbert's channel, see what he's up to. Everybody else, like, subscribe. If you appreciate what we're doing, if you appreciate the balance, please subscribe. Subscribe to Herbert too. He's a pretty okay feller, I suppose. And everybody else, subscribe, leave comments, do what you do, and stay tuned, stay juicy. I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots, on the next one.